The one thing I would want to share with teachers about teaching reading in secondary schools is what you're really doing is teaching students how to think.
If I could only share one thing to teachers who are teaching reading, I would emphasize that knowing your students is key. Knowing their backgrounds, knowing their culture, knowing where they're coming from will allow you to really understand the students, especially in the secondary level. Some of our students work. They are living with a different family member. They have different realities. Some are even parents already, because that's the real world where we live in. Some are very interested in technology and would spend hours reading or talking about technology. So learning about the students' academic ability and their family life is key to motivating students and to really reaching them and knowing exactly what they need. This informal assessment is just as valid as any formal assessment. And I would even venture to say sometimes the information that you gather from this informal assessment can be the key of turning around a student. If they know that you understand them, that you're a caring individual, and that you know what their needs are and you're there to help them, that could mean a difference for that child.
To me, the single most important thing about teaching reading is to motivate the students to be interested in reading, to let them know it's not just a job, it's not just work, that reading will take them to another place, and providing the teachers with a way and means to convince the students of this, to get them actively engaged and get them to want to come into the class, want to read something new, want to learn without knowing necessarily they're learning.
Read to the students. I think students do not hear enough authentic reading, and I think students don't hear enough of reading with the fluency and the prosody that is natural and normal in our society.
If I could only share one thing about reading with secondary teachers, it might be a reminder that reading is everywhere. Real life isn't compartmentalized like school, where we focus on math here and reading there and social studies in another place. In real life, all those areas are mixed up, and that our schools should be a more accurate reflection of real life, and that reading is everywhere. We need to use reading to help students learn all their content areas.
If there is one thing that I think is most important about teaching reading that teachers understand, is that whole group instruction is just not going to meet those students' needs. You're going to have to differentiate. You're going to have to use the assessment in order to determine what needs to be done in that classroom. These kids are coming at us at so many different ability levels that the whole group approach, you just will not see the results that you want to see in your students.
And I would add to that by stressing the importance of small group instruction. If you're dealing with the low progress reader, then the small group setting is where you're going to get the gains that you need with those students. And the whole group instruction, take that a little further, the whole class novel, you're not differentiating if everyone is being required to read the same text. You're not giving allowing the opportunity for motivation and engagement that you need in order to reach those learners.
If I could share one thing about reading with teachers, it would be that teachers need to become reflective and to think about what they're doing to formulate where they will go in the future with their students. And as we become reflective, when we start thinking about adding new instructional practices and instructional techniques to our repertoire, it's important to realize that it takes numerous times, maybe as many as 20 times, to become really fluent and at ease and natural with an instructional practice. So, for instance, if you're going to learn to do a KWL, the first time you do it might feel awkward, but if you persist and continue to work with it, it will soon become your own.
If I could share only one thing with teachers, I think I would want them to understand the importance of setting a purpose for what they're reading, allowing students to understand why we're reading it and making a connection to their life. that goes a long way towards success.
If I could share one thing with secondary teachers, it would be don't give up on the students. You know, we understand that they come from some extenuating circumstances, some extreme situations, and a lot of them come in unmotivated to learn and unmotivated toward reading. And it's our job to motivate those students, to help them make those personal connections, those real life connections, and making our content relevant to their lives. You know, that's the one thing I would want to leave with them.
If I could share one thing with teachers about teaching reading, I would say most importantly is find out what students are interested in, get them engaged and get them motivated as quickly as possible. Let them have an opportunity to help you design a curriculum for them so that they can get into the text, have deep conversation about the text, and bring back that love of reading that so many of our secondary students no longer have.
I think the most important thing we need to remember as teachers of reading is that our students want to learn and they can learn, and that it's up to us to do whatever it takes to engage them in those activities that will help them become successful, and that is our role, no matter what it is, to figure out what it takes to help that child become successful and become a reader.